Howdy, howdy. It is Friday. Time for us to apparently look at little amps and stuff like that. But that's okay. We're there. Amps aren't actually that expensive. I mean, like this one's really huge and it's $50. And it's like massive with a big speaker and stuff. Weird. So got all the equipment in today or yesterday to restring our acoustic guitar, and that's cool. And then it came with a whole bunch of widgets and doodly wops and picks. So now I have picks. So now when someone says picks or it didn't happen, I can send them pictures of my picks. Don't think I won't do that. Okay. It's time to get to work for all one of you.
Remind me again why I keep you around.
I think the big thing is remind you why you married me. I think that's the biggest issue.
Well, that's probably why I keep you around.
Yeah, it's because
It's
you're
'cause
stuck
I'm
with me
kinda
now.
legally required
Yeah,
to.
you're stuck with me at this point. It's kind of sucky. Oh, I can mirror myself. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay.
Reference previous comment.
It's a ting. I'm just trying to see if I can get something to stop me from being so overexposed. I feel exposed. I'm going to get banned from YouTube for exposure. Okay, now I've got 2 viewers. That gained me a whole viewer by talking about exposure.
There you go.
Yeah. I thought I set this thing up. Maybe I didn't. I don't know. I feel like I didn't set it up properly. You're like, I'll check my hair to see if I look nice.
I'm just looking straight up like you are. What's up there?
Yeah, right.
Ceiling cat.
I suddenly realized that right over there I have a green screen that's on a pull-up thing.
Yes,
I could
you
probably just put right here if I ever needed to have a green screen.
Right.
Because I've been having all these meetings with real people and businesses, and I've got this like space set going behind me, which is fine for this show. And now, see, I lost my viewer. Yeah, maybe I should just get to work. I'll get to work. Stop whining. Just get to work. All right, over here, hanging out. Things. Maybe what's sitting in the bay is just a car of some sort. Like they've got some kind of ground vehicle. I mean, that's the landing, or that's the sweep deck. And so anything could be on the sweep deck. They could be sweeping on the sweep deck. This is punishment for people. You're supposed to go out and sweep the sweep deck. Right? Right? See? I have this all worked out in my head. A little big though for putting an MPV in there because it's only 1 deck high, but I can put a truck in there. Provided we, fix the truck, which needs to be fixed.
Yeah, it water.
Goober. An ATV? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. She's doing something. I mean, that's the thing, is that we got something going on up there. And I don't think I have all my vehicle parts anymore, which is weird. Right? Because, we had all of these really complicated things. Like this, the truck nose, truck cab. Let's do this by modified so that we can figure out what's newest. Because the MPV is going to be obviously the newest stuff. So the tire hasn't been even touched in 2 freaking years. Right? It's not a bad tire. It's fine. Brent says hello.
Hello, Brent.
You only need socks if you're like, intending on being warm,
I like being warm.
right? Weird.
High on my list.
These squares are a meter, yeah? I love you. Have a good day.
You too.
And we can fix the guitar this weekend. It'd be cool.
Be cool.
It'd be cool. We have a guitar. Checkmate. It's a guitar. I like that.
Hey, the kids made it for you.
I know. Looks like the kids made it for you.
I went with my outfit today, so I decided to wear it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. So, here's what's going on, Brent. The scene that's in question here, Bennett is fixing a thing on the sweep deck. We don't know what. But one of the lines here is some throwaway line of, oh, good, since Ensign Cayen is here, maybe he can help me snurg the snurgleblat or flip the fleepty flop or bloopty bloopty boop. And I'm trying to figure out what to put on the sweep deck that doesn't require 4 days of modeling, because it seems like a silly amount of effort to put in for something that we're only going to use for a minute just to give Bennett some business. So I'm kind of doing maybe a truck, like a little truck on the sweep deck, because if there's a truck on the sweep deck, then that makes some sense that she's fussing with it. Because then it's not necessarily the kitty wake that's not working. Could be just the truck not working. So I was like, well, we could do that, and then I could just build the truck real quick. And I mean, there are pieces for a truck. I just don't know what happened to it. I think I have this truck nose. Right. A small container needs to lift it. No, because she doesn't need Cayen for his lifting ability. There's something wrong with the vehicle, so I'll just build a truck. It'll give us a truck. It'll be fine. And not only that, it's good because then they've become toy trucks. Yeah, but like I said, we don't haul around really, really intelligent AIs for their lifting abilities. Pepper.
Idaho, Ranger Joe.
You're about right.
So, are you in the 3D program?
Yeah.
I only ask because I hear the ball on your mouse moving.
Right? Because, like, it zooms out in increments of no.
Mm-hmm.
It's extraordinarily frustrating. There we go.
Bless you.
I have noticed I've sneezed. Uh-oh. Cayen smothered by blankets again. There's just no hope for him. Nothing we can do. It's too late
Hopefully
for
there's
him. Save
nothing
yourselves.
else the blankets that scare you. Anyway. How are you this morning?
Well, so far, so good. I mean, other than, a truck that doesn't want to really assemble very well. But, hey, it's all good. Oh, for crying out loud, this is going to take forever. Okay, remind me before I start the next big wave on this that I don't really... I need to really learn how to just animate all this stuff in Blender and leave it alone and not, in fact, keep using Daz Studio. I just need to suck it up and do the job.
So you're wanting to go into Blender and make your own maquettes and everything?
Yeah, I think that's probably a better move. This is taking so much time and effort, and it's not as useful.
So currently you're in Daz Studios.
Yeah, I am. It's not, and I'm not trying to knock Daz. It's been so long that this is not designed for this job. Is really what it's boiling down to. It's just
it's kind of like it's kind of like whatchamacallit, the program SketchUp.
Yeah.
3D program. That's actually mainly used for products. It's not supposed to be used for animation really that much. Because it was made for people to do like quick 3D things that are one-off, like the fastest.
Yeah.
And I thought that's what Daz Studio was too.
It's really designed to make its own art in its own way, and that's fine, but it needs to... I really need to just not do... It's like, it just needs to be like, I don't know. It is not a problem. It's not a horrible program or anything like that. Just, it wasn't designed to do what I'm doing with it. And I used to pride myself on that. I used to pride myself on the idea that I could make a program do a thing that it wasn't designed to do. And that was cool and that was nifty. And I got a lot of accolades online for it and things like that. But the reality is sometimes you need the right tool for the right job. And, this just sometimes isn't the right tool. And that's what it boils down to. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm losing efficiency by using Daz, is what it's boiling down to. And I'm doing it solely because I am uncomfortable with learning a new program now, which is fine. I mean, that's fine. We can do this. It won't be a problem. But it is definitely something I'm doing well. I think that between comics, I'm going to definitely look into the idea of learning how to use that, or learning how to put everything into Blender. I already know 90% of how to use Blender. I'm only being afraid because animation's a little scary and stuff like that, and it doesn't need to be.
There's also change.
Yeah, change, and you know how it goes. Change is never, the thing. We're gonna play a game. That game is guess the texture maps. Maybe that one. That's the correct one. It's just not the right texture map. So how you doing this morning, Pepper?
Weird, but okay. Um, I'm starting on the pages for the Atomic Punk Jupiter thumbnails a little bit more. I got the gist of each page down.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to settle on the script and make sure that I have everything described properly. And then I looked up what I was going to be calling my comic, and I found out that Atom Punk is used as a board game. Now the P is capitalized for the board game.
Atom Punk though is a genre, so
Right. It's actually Atomic Punk. That's the actual term. But like someone must have shortened it.
Yeah.
As time went on. But I added Jupiter to it.
That sounds good.
So I think that's basically what's going to help me make sure that I don't get into a copyright thing.
Mm-hmm.
Nuke Punk.
That's a different place.
That's a completely, that's like Atomic Wasteland Apocalypse by Nuclear Blast. Yeah. Although that would be fun to do.
You're just saying.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm trying my best to stay for 16 pages, for sure. But it's rather difficult for me. I don't know if that is for you too.
To stay what? Focused?
No, not to stay focused. Basically, I'm trying to make sure that this particular comic stays 16 pages. I can't have it go over for this particular short comic for atomic for these characters and storyline. I need it kind of to be small, and I can't go beyond the 16 pages because I already have a quote, and I need to stay within that quote.
Yeah, I have that problem, and sometimes I have been known to have to just toss the whole thing out and start all over.
Yeah, my problem is I can't waste that type of thing, and I can't go over because I already budgeted.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking of doing that with Momentary Ghosts. And before Brent freaks out, which he will, there's a reason I'm thinking about it, and that is I wrote up the scripts for Momentary Ghosts 2 and 3, and they're muddy. The script is muddy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not clear what I'm trying to do. It's not clear what's going on. I'm not resolving the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. It's not beginning, middle, and end. It's a beginning, middle, and middle. And that's not good. And it's because I'm focusing too much on the arc and not enough on the individual episode. So last night, while I was waiting for Kiddo at karate, there's a Starbucks right by his dojo, and so I just head over to the Starbucks and pull out the Surface, and I prefer to work on things like my scripts and stuff like that, because it's, Word doesn't take a lot of power and stuff like that. So the last couple of weeks, I've been organizing the overwriting arc, and making sure that all 22 episodes of the first arc are congruous and speak to each other. And I use that term a lot, speak to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really mean is, if they mention that Snurgleblats are purple in episode 1, I need to make sure that the Snurgleblats are purple in episode 15. And if I know that I'm going to use a Beeple in episode 22, I need to at least foreshadow it a little bit somewhere so that it doesn't just show up out of the blue. And especially that's true of technology. And for that matter, magic, because there's magic in my universe. So that needs to be foreshadowed somewhere. It can't just not exist, So I've got to make sure that it's properly foreshadowed and everything is correct. So, but what I'm doing right now is backing up and taking a look at the core piece of Momentary Ghosts. What is the one sentence on it? You know what I mean? And if that's the case, then some of the things I was looking at when I did the one sentence, I don't need all these other things. It really doesn't need to be more complicated with the entire thing on the Commonwealth showing up. We already have the Commonwealth showing up in another episode down the road. That's going to involve building a bunch of Commonwealth spaceships that don't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what needs to happen is we need to start talking a little bit about how the character Alex isn't normal and how she tries to kind of hide that a little bit so that nobody thinks that she's that weird, you know. And so the core of the story really is what happened to Moment and who is this girl? And that's really what needs to be there, is those two pieces. The rest of it is superfluous. It can be put back in to help further those two plot points, but it doesn't need to. I think I'm overthinking the concept that Act 2 must complicate. You know, like the rules say Act 1 is setup, Act 2 is complication, and Act 3 is resolution, right? So you set up the thing, you know, and then Act 2 has to be some complication twist, and then Act 3 you resolve the problem. And I think I'm overthinking it by throwing in Commonwealth stuff because we need to have Commonwealth to show that they're bad or whatever. I don't think I need that. So, anyway, it's something I've been kind of pondering, going back and recoring the idea and looking at it from just a sense point of view. May not be the solution you need, but, you know, hey, I'm offering it out there anyway. We don't have to use it. That's the best part about suggestions.
It's all right.
That's
Well, the reason why I think I want to make sure that I also get Atomic Bomb Jupiter in 16 pages is I have a habit of my brain making things more complicated than they need to be.
Hey, I just said that. Yeah.
No, but with this particular story, I've been trying to rack my brain on how to do it. And what ended up happening is all the things that were at the meetup that we were discussing kept adding more pages to it than really needed to be. When in reality, this is literally just a side story of basically how it is uncovered, like, the system of government was not always the greatest on Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the crown, you essentially have the crown prince exploring this facility and discovering his family's involvement in its destruction. That's basically where I ended up landing.
Right. Well, and, you know, same thing. Going to need to consider.
But the thing is the thing is the next one after this is supposed to be the one that I first wanted to write, and that one's going to be like double the size.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're ever going to go back to Callisto, but I have a feeling that I may write going back into Callisto because there's 4 major moons in Jupiter that I kind of want them to kind of like do something on each one of those if I get this up and going properly.
Yeah. And that's what I was saying with Momentary Ghosts. What's the core story? And if you don't need any of those other things, then dump them. You know? Because I mean, thinking about Momentary Ghosts, core story is what happened to Moment. The complication is the fact that Alex can use magic. That's the complication.
Mm-hmm.
But since magic is banned in the Unity, she has to hide it, and she's gonna keep it. And not only that, she's using old one's tech. So she's not even using magic, she's using ancient magic. Which, by the way, magic in case people are worried, magic in Bellatrix Rising is under Clark's Law. It's very much Clark's Law, which is any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So it's not really magic, it's super, super high advanced technology.
Or older technology.
Yeah. It comes from a race of beings that predates all of the races of beings in the galaxy. So the technology is way out there. And the difference is that Alex has it in her body. It's not a device she wears like the other magicians in the world. It's in her body.
I thought you said that she had like nanobots or something like that in her system.
Yeah, she's got weird circuitry that's inside her that you can't see because it's beyond the observation of modern medicine, even in the Bellatrix Rising timeline, beyond their medicine. But it's like microcircuits, like super microcircuits.
Mm-hmm.
But she has there's no way for her to, I mean, she doesn't want them to find that out. That won't end well. And thinking about it from a top-down view, part of that, she wakes up, she's in the ICU, nobody's with her, nobody's around her, and she looks at her hand, and the hand does the thing or whatever, because she's near moment where something magic just happened. It all makes sense. The question is, how can
you just all broke up?
Like
I don't.
Huh?
You just like broke up. You broke up.
I'm totally breaking up. I'm breaking up with you, Pepper.
Okay.
You're so offended by it too. I can tell. You're hurt. You're crushed. Crushed. Utterly, I tell you, crushed.
Can I still talk to your wife?
Priorities, right? Yes, you still talk to my wife. Dang it, my wife gets all the good people in the divorce.
If it makes you feel any better, I have a lot of people that basically I ended up retaining and my ex did not.
Yeah, I know. I think the funniest part is that you and Maya just like are so like connected very well whenever we're together, because like I sit there and just talk to Bill and you talk to Maya and everybody's happy and it's a great little couple. I love it. Now the only problem I have with moment 2 and 3 is that there's no real action going on. You know? It's a whole bunch of people yammering now. So we'll have to figure that out at some point. I have a couple of kind of cool tools for redoing scenes, stories, things like that if you need them ever. Just so you're aware, you don't have to have. They're just little worksheets, for just getting your thoughts out.
Okay.
Connection issues left and right. Today is a lousy connection for me. Thank you. Hey, you. Mm. Brent get plain money ready. In my brain, that got all conflated, and now I have Brent sharpening his airplane. So there's that.
Okay.
I've overcomplicated this. There's no reason to overcomplicate this.
Question I guess you should have. I would really be asking is why did you overcomplicate it?
Well, I'm just like, I need Bennett to be doing business on the sweep deck. Well, they're in port. Obviously, what's being put on the sweep deck is a bunch of containers for loading and unloading, food, dry materials, yada yada yada, fuel. You know what I mean? So all she needs to do is be going beep beep beep, locked. Beep beep beep, locked. You know, and then when Cayen shows up, Instant Cayen, could you please talk to this container and ask it why it's locked? You know, Link, that's it. That's all. It doesn't have to be complicated. I need containers anyway. I'll go build containers. Quick. It'll be a quick thing.
Question is why are the containers not talking back?
I mean, that makes it simple. It's space age. Space age stuff always does stuff like that. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Of course we do, sir. Add mesh cylinder. Add cylinder and drop its sizes to no. Because all containers on starships have to be hexagons. It's a rule. It's required by law. It's actually because hexagons stack well, but you know.
Like you do?
You know, well, they make. I mean, like, sometimes it's just stupid, simple, and it looks cool. Donk. Cute floofy container. Container floofy. Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
No.
Okay. Well, I guess in a way, this particular story has allowed me to think a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about certain aspects of the culture surrounding the sovereign, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the family of the sovereigns of Jupiter, of how they've played out.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing that has happened with this. It's kind of got me in a position where it's actually been very good
Mm-hmm.
with this story. Um, Errol, which is the cadet that is also the crown sovereign son.
Mm-hmm.
Um, his grandfather was not a kind or just ruler at all,
Right.
and the original thought and storyline behind this was Errol always saw his father as a kind person and in doing his best to make sure that he was creating good lives for the people on the planet. Um, and when I first started thinking about this story, I wasn't sure, but public opinion about the sovereign family was actually not really good. And
That would
this
make some
story kind of,
sense.
huh?
That would make some sense.
And this story kind of delves into a little bit of that, seeing
Sure.
that as his father's own sister was basically killed in the incident that happened on Callisto, and she was the last one to send a communication to ask for help, and they never sent it. So, like, basically at the end, it's more or less it doesn't end on a high note.
Right.
That's just for sure. But it's a perfect setup going into the next one to introduce the characters officially. And so essentially, like, the one I'm working on is actually before the actual beginning, in a way, but it needs
Mm-hmm.
to be told. But then it's not gonna. It's gonna be referenced maybe another, like, maybe 3 issues after the official beginning of it.
Okay.
that they went to Callisto. So it's like I said, the short is supposed to take place in the middle of the story, but I want to put the short first, kind of deal.
Fair.
Because when I mention, hey Hone,
Oh, hey, Hone. Long time no see, bro. How you doing?
uh, um, so yeah, because basically in the first one, the reason why Errol is even going into space with Captain Theta and Chimpy the monkey.
Chimpy the monkey.
Um,
I just got to real quickly say I absolutely adore your story arcs. Just
um, but essentially what it is like it's talking about the fallout of the sins of a bad ruler. And the new ruler that hasn't been ruling, that has been ruling for a while, but has been meeting opposition after opposition, sends his own son into space essentially to get political favor.
right.
Basically going, I'm sending this child into space. I know what you're all thinking. I want this to be safe for everyone. But they've heard that before. The citizens have heard that before from a previous ruler, where he just basically, this story kind of proves that he
Doesn't care.
He didn't care, and so this one really does have to be different. Um, in a lot of different ways.
Don't worry about your English, Hone. It is totally fine, bro. You know it. You're safe here. Sorry. I'm having a discussion with Hone.
No, it's alright. It's alright. But what I was thinking is I finally named the current sovereign, which is, his name is Howl, and he is the second. So his father was the first. And he named his child not after himself. That's
Okay.
what Errol is. I think as the story goes on, we'll name different people in Errol's family. But I don't think. I think it should be centered around the fact that his son is starting to see, because his son kind of, like, Errol kind of has like this thing where his grandfather was a really good grandfather, but he wasn't aware of the political situation that his grandfather created.
Right.
And
so you're going to have sort of the fallen hero effect at some point.
Right. And then also, like, he himself is actually going to be blaming his father for not doing anything to help his aunt.
Right.
Like,
that makes some sense.
And doesn't give his father. I don't think he's going to give his father a chance to try to explain. So it's like one of these, like, really. It's a dynamic that's going to go on, but Captain Theta has known the current sovereign while he was in the forces.
Sure.
So she knows a little bit of backstory. So I think that captain is actually going to be kind of a good liaison between the father and son in a sort of way, or an indirect way.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. But Chimpy's character, by the way, is not as, like, chipper or anything. Like, I actually picture this guy as a very big cynic. This character,
that makes sense.
Like, he's like, one of the lines I came up with for him is like, get used to seeing people like me. We're all over this station. Like, stop staring. We speak like you.
Right? Should do a lot of like ook ook. That's what you expect me to say, right? Ook ook. So ook ook.
Well, I was also thinking like not all of them are cynics, but like if they run across another one and they're super excited to do the ook 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 ook
Right.
thing, and Chippy goes, "That one's special," and they're running after one of our own. We don't do that to you. Like showcasing that the creatures actually code switch with humans or Jutonians and them kind of deal.
Right.
Like they switch the way that they approach people in a similar form that people code switch.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's interesting. I think you got. I mean, I'm fascinated by this whole concept anyway.
yeah.
I
Jane
love. I mean,
Jones-
I was. So it's so funny. A long time ago, I did a steampunk
uh-huh.
comic and didn't know it was called steampunk, so I thought I was being all unique and special.
Okay.
You know. But it was, same sort of thing. It was, space 1899. You know.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Sort of setup. So I've always sort of liked exploring the genre.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious where your take will take it,
Well, and then I have the other Cadet Jane Jones, which she's actually originally from Mars. So she's a Martian. She's a straight up Martian.
I have observed that Bill has sneezed.
Yes. I keep telling him he needs to lower his sneeze volume. He's gonna scare people.
Volume.
So Cadet Jane Jones is actually a Martian that was transported from Mars to Jupiter because her closest relatives after her parents died when she was younger lived on Jupiter.
There.
So she enlisted in the forces, but like anything, like coming from a different planet, a lot of people look down upon her. I'm not sure if I should give her a skeletal suit to wear because her body hasn't fully adapted to Jupiter's gravity.
Right.
Or the fact that when she goes into space, she doesn't need it. Because she's not on the planet anymore.
Question.
Well, if you think about it, like, if you go from Mars to Jupiter, Jupiter is a denser, larger planet, so the gravity is going to be stronger. And then there's probably going to be health complications if she doesn't get assistance for that.
Agreed.
But also, I could just do it like they always did it back then, where it didn't really matter, and no one was going to be harmed by going from interplanetary travel to interplanetary travel.
Yeah, because
gravitation.
Everything's the same. Jupiter's just going to be,
a larger planet with the same
larger planet with a lot more space.
Right.
That's all it is.
Hey, Brent.
Oh, no.
And then eventually, I think we can invite new characters into the whole story. But like, I think starting with this many characters is probably good because I want them to have Station X as kind of like a base for things to begin for the actual program.
Mm-hmm.
And everything. Speaking of the program, I saw a commercial for the United States Space Force the other day.
Man, I got to tell you, Space Force uniforms kick ass. So
I mean, I just found it to be like because I know people who work for them, but like in my mind, I did not picture like it being like the way it is, and ironically, like I saw this one and I was just like, well, there you go. Yeah, we have an armed services for space.
yep.
So,
And
I will be right back on that note. I'm sorry.
even right now, yep. Dr. Sagan's rolling in his grave. Yeah, we missed you, Hone. We missed you. Okay, I can't tell, Hone, if you're talking about the weather, though. I'm just saying. Because you know the weather where you are is usually hot. One of my favorite things to talk about is weather, apparently. I don't know. I have issues. Don't judge me. Right? And no, it's not. Although, if you want to trade places, it's minus 11 right now. Here. Totally normal. Heck yeah. Oh, whoa, boy. Whoa, boy. And that happened. Oh, it went fine. It went fine. Hello, some user. You'd freeze to death. Yeah. Wow. With some user now, we literally have all 3 points of the globe on here. I'm just saying, because some users in Europe, Hone's in Asia, and then Brent and us are transmitting out of the US. So that puts like 3 points of the globe on there. Yeah! We've made 3 points of the globe. Look at us. Just kick butt. There once was a time where we had Ghost Hand on here too, and I don't know what happened to Ghost Hand recently. I've been kind of worried about him as well. But Ghost Hand was out of Brazil, and he wasn't very far from the equator in Brazil either. And so it was really pretty hot for him as well. Right. I know. I often wonder about autocorrect for you guys. Like, both some user and Hone are, you're not native English speakers, so I wonder, do you have autocorrect problems in the same way? Because when I use my phone and I speak in Japanese on my phone, it gives me different options for characters to write, and I'm noticing that um, we're an international art collective. Um, well, I am a firm believer that everybody is just people, and it doesn't matter what country you're from. That is a very firm belief of mine. Now that I have spent some time abroad, I'm very, very big on that. So, but yeah, I always wonder about autocorrect. I guess for some user, I would think that it'd be pretty similar to English because that's not an ideographic language. I wonder about Hone.
If we're talking about autocorrect, I have some problems with my English autocorrect because I have French also on my phone.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, was that whenever I translate into Japanese on my phone, it doesn't have the autocorrect like English does because Japanese is ideographic. So Japanese uses hieroglyphs, for lack of a better word, because it uses the Chinese character sets.
Yeah, no, mine.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, the French and English one is set up like similar. I will say, however, the French one, like if I'm like typing certain words in English, it'll switch over to the French.
I hate it when it does that to me.
For all of a sudden, like I don't know why, it will just like I didn't even hit the button, and it will switch over to French word spellings and autocorrects, and it's like, no, I did not mean to put T, the word for tea, in front of that other word. I meant the.
Like a normal human.
Yeah. No, like a normal English text sentence. But it is funny because some of the times, like if I let it go through, people are like, "Why did you spell it like that?" If I'm talking to an English speaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is what I really meant." And they're like, "Okay." Yeah, honey.
Pretty much all of us. Autocorrect hates us all.
Yeah. I've actually had to turn my autocorrect off like twice. Like I've just gotten so sick of it.
I just find autocorrect to be more useful in Japanese than in English because it does a lot of helping stuff. I don't know.
It is good for that in French as well. I will say that because there are, like, before I left Duolingo, I was actually learning that some of the things in Duolingo, as far as conversations go and everything, they did not actually properly teach, because modern, like, they have like this version of French that is like supposed to be like uniform throughout France, but like there's different wordings depending on where you're from, so the local slang makes it a little bit different here and there, so it makes it a little bit. But if you're talking to someone in Paris, like, they shorten a lot of things.
Yep.
So they have like their own. Yeah.
I mean, I feel bad sometimes for folks who are trying to join, like, say, example, our stream, and we're just using colloquialisms all over the place. It's like, sorry guys, we're very rough. And I mean, even with us, we're using geeky terms, and we're using terms that, refer to things on TV, and So all of you guys out there who are like, I don't even know what they're talking about. Just feel bad.
Well, it's kind of like there are now people who teach or help those who are trying to learn Japanese online. I came across a YouTuber that paired up with another YouTuber, and one YouTuber is from Okinawa. The other YouTuber is from the Hamana Prefecture. Or, yeah, somewhere like around there. And they were talking about the differences on how they speak.
Well, you're starting with Okinawa, so there's that.
But what it was like they literally started by going, "This is on how we say thank you. This is on how we say thank you." Like they literally started with basic greetings and everything, showcasing that when you're in different areas, it's probably good to pick up at least the simple things to at least acknowledge that you're trying to learn that there's different ways of saying it in different areas.
Yeah, people used to make fun of my accent because I sound like a hick in Japanese. Because I learned everything in when I was when I was out in the boonies, and so I sound totally like a hick in Japanese. It's really sad. But it's the same thing. I just loop words together, and goodness knows what I'm doing. I don't think I know what I'm doing. That's the thing. When we get all the people from around the world on here, I love it. But then I always feel like I'm like calling people out. I don't mean to call you guys out, but I so love talking to people around the world. I think part of it is that I have wanderlust. I want to wander around. I want to go to different places in the world. I mean, maybe not visiting Hone in the middle of summer, because that seems like that's just horrible. But visiting Hone in like the winter might not be so bad when it drops down to only 30 degrees Celsius. As opposed to, hanging out at yeah, but that's the other thing about traveling the world, though. It's 25C. At 25C, honey, I still roll up my windows and turn on my AC in my car. It's still too hot for me at 25C. Like, nope. Yeah, but that's the thing is like that's when you wander the world, you are less likely to do all of the what did you say? Because you can pick up different accents and it becomes more interesting at that point in time. So even when people are speaking English, I can pick up their accent and go, oh, I know what part of Japan you're from, or I know that you're, speaking, your native tongue is Chinese or your native tongue is Mandarin, because Mandarin and Cantonese have two totally different accents in English. And so unless somebody has worked really hard to mask their accent, I actually kind of like it. I like being able to try to pick up where you're from the accent. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I just think it's cool. 15C, take it or leave it. I think Hone's bartering with temperature. But I don't have. That's the other thing is I think people get hung up on their accent, and they shouldn't. You know, like they're worried that their accent is really like too. You know, they get embarrassed about it. I used to do that too when I was in Japan. I'd get embarrassed about my accent, and it would make me not talk. And of course, you need to talk to practice. Otherwise, you just never practice. Right? Just take it or take it. This isn't even, there's not even a negotiation going on here, Rone. Sorry, you're just going to have to take 15C and just accept it.
I'm just going to say, like, if I have to experience Florida winter when I go to another country, I'm sorry, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
No. I'm not sure what 30C or 25C really is because I'm not up for doing the math in my head. So...
no choice. Oh, so the way I usually think about it is this: at 10 degrees Celsius above, I usually roll down my windows here and drive with the windows down because it's a lovely, nice temperature. It's not too hot, not too cold. And then we get to about 20C. That's when I've got to start rolling the windows back up and turning on the AC in the car. Then 30C is I hate you people. And then 40C is I'm not even going outside. Don't even talk to me. And that's the way it goes. That's my, this is my level of understanding. I mean, you know, that's how I learned it. And because of course we're not native to Celsius here in America. And so I didn't actually get a fundamental understanding of Celsius until I lived in Japan, where they don't speak Fahrenheit. So, you know, I did the best that I could.
Yeah, good luck. I'm not visiting there in the winter. That's 77 degrees. Nope.
Stop trying to sound like a cowboy. That's totally how I sound in Japanese, apparently. I sound like a cowboy. The Japanese version of the cowboy. Right? You know, Hone, that there's literally only 2 nations in the world now that do Fahrenheit? And one of them is us. And we're just determined not to go to metric. For no reason whatsoever. Americans don't like to change. And it's aggravating because, of course, it's so much easier. Save as JPEG cargo container. I use it all the time. It's one of the things that I like, especially when I'll get people who are not Americans on here. And so it's nice to be able to instantly be able to think in Celsius and metrics and say this is, 3 kilometers or whatever. We were talking about weather the other day, and I was like, the biggest problem that we have up here is that we're 1.6 kilometers above sea level, and so we've got a lot of altitude, which means we don't have a lot of air. Stops our weather from being obnoxious. That's an excuse. They're just making an excuse. They tried to bring metric in back in the 70s, and we fought it all the way down, and people refused to do it. And right?
I went to a school that taught both metric and whatever we use. I think it's
imperials. What it's called.
Yeah. I went to a school, like both my grade school, my middle school, and my high school all had both, because both schools were trying to make sure that if you went into the business field, you can do international business easily.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, one of my cousins from Canada said this kind of really, really great. Jennifer was like, See, in America, you guys don't need to have it because everything is already imperial. You think in material, you have everything posted in imperial. You have everything going in imperial. There's no need to do it unless you go outside of your country on a regular basis. There's no need for you to learn it, and
Yep.
that is the biggest thing about America is if we don't need to learn it, we don't.
Right. However, and that actually speaks a lot more to the fact that most Americans don't travel.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why Americans also tend to be very insular. They tend to think only about America. And that's why Americans tend to also have a global appearance, that we are clueless and common sense. We're clueless, but I mean, like when we travel abroad, everybody is pretty much like, oh, it's Americans. They're going to make us like come to them on everything, you know? And it's a thing. And whenever I land in Japan or talk to anybody in Japan or go to the consulate, even here in Denver, and you know, I go to the consulate and that's technically Japanese territory, you know, and I'll walk on there and, you know, they'll say hello and I'll say Nihongo demoi, and they'll be like, oh, you know, oh, that's so nice. You know, it's like every time I deal with Japanese, I can say, you can speak Japanese. It's fine. You know, I'll take either. And that's a big deal. And it's because Americans don't usually concede, you know. But even when I was in Germany and France, I didn't speak German or French, but I learned how to say
Well,
thank you and
for
please.
the most part, okay, I just have to say one thing. The one thing I do know is there's a lot of people, at least in Paris, that do speak English that are native
Sure.
to Paris and France.
Mhm.
However, if you just make the attempt that you're trying, they will respect you a little bit.
That's all they want.
So that's
Oh yeah,
from my
that's the thing.
understanding.
I sat there and fumbled my way like 16 words of French while I was in Paris. I was only in Paris for a day, but you know, I'm like, that's all right. I'll load up on as many words of French as I can speak. I mean, the nice thing about French is once you've learned Japanese, French is actually relatively easy because it's very similar to English compared to Japanese. Yeah.
It only has a few minor differences that make it very similar to Italian and Spanish
Yeah.
at certain dynamics. So yeah.
Well, Hone, you're actually there's a graph about there's like different languages are in the same families, and it's easier to learn them if they're in the same family. So, for example, English and French and Spanish are in the same family, and English and German and probably Swedish and some of those are close to the same family. So it's easier for like someone
English
from
is
English to learn German, and it's easier for English to French. But then Japanese, Chinese, you know, Taiwanese, all of those in the Asian, they're all in the same family as well. They're all coming from Mongolian language. So you end up right, but you end up in the same family esque because Thailand's Hindi and like in that branch, so heading more into the languages of India and this in the South Asian area. So it's a little bit more difficult, but still, all of those languages come from Proto-Chinese to some degree. Yeah. But that's why it's easier for you. You'll have an easier time with Japanese than I did, and I would have an easier time with French than you do. You'd have a lot easier time picking up, like, different dialects of Hindi and things like that. You can tell it because of the Thai language is very, the script is very lovely and elegant, like Hindi, which is very lovely and elegant. Whereas Chinese was done brush, so everything is very square and rigid. True. And I don't know. I mean, some user, I'm not saying we're bad people. I'm just saying that that's like our tradition seems to be to go to other countries and say, why are you not speaking English? Like, or
yeah, that's just you guys.
Every time I was on a train in Japan and someone was talking on the phone, they were American. I'm just saying. So it is super, super rude in Japan to talk on the phone on the train. It's super, super, super rude. So you don't. But every time somebody was talking on the train, it was an American. And I was like, guys, you're making us look bad. Thai is interesting to me I think if I were to learn languages, I've thought about this. I've been thinking about where I want to move next with language learning. You're like, don't bother with it. Just don't. Stay away. Stay away. I feel like Hone's warning me off now. Go away. You're like, go away.
I mean, I grew up with people that were Thai, and one of the people I dated, their next door neighbors and best friend was Thai as well.
That was a Spaceballs thing going in there.
Yeah, the one thing that I can say for sure is the American-born members of the family, when they visited their parents' country for the first time, when they came back, they had a lot of American stereotypical stuff to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
But then they followed it up with basically going, I had a really good time. So it was a very unique thing to see. Even though that it was like where their parents came from, like the differences of being born in America versus them being born in Thailand and then coming to America with their parents.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting thing to see. I would like to go, but I don't think I want to go when it's, hot. Sorry.
Yeah. Thai food is very good food, though. I like Thai food.
I can't eat a lot of Thai food. Allergic to seafood.
I just like Thai food. Yeah, I mean, what I discovered while I was in Japan was, as weird and strange as Japanese culture is, which, to my upbringing, it was so strange. It was very different. They didn't, the holidays were all different, and the way we celebrated was different, and everything like that. But all of that's like the top 1% of who you are as a person. And it's really just not, I mean, it's enough to be a curiosity, but it's never enough to judge somebody on. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally curious about what's life in your where you guys are, what's life like in Thailand. I'm not going to enjoy the weather. I think I won't enjoy the bugs either. Um, like what's the weather like in Sweden? What's the what's the food like? Things like that. Those are curiosities, but I don't think they define us. I think that you know it's a curiosity. I think it's like me telling you about being an American and being in Colorado. It's a curiosity. And when we talk about like driving and things like that, I'm always curious about that stuff because that's what I do as a living. But yeah, I don't know. But I certainly don't think that's something you assign to people. I think that's a mistake that people make a lot. You know, you are X country and therefore you're bad. And that's a mistake people make all the time and really shouldn't make. Yeah, it's far, far, far different place we live in. It's like blaming Pepper for wearing glasses. Pepper's obviously an evil person for wearing glasses.
Only when I take them off.
It's true. Still one of my favorite scenes from Lois and Clark. Did you ever see Lois and Clark?
Yep.
That one where, what was his name? The bad guy that starts with a Z, who was so funny, from the future. Anyway, he comes back from the future using H.G. Wells' time machine. And he's like, he goes, there's one thing that we want to know about you in the future. He's captured Lois Lane, of course, to try to draw Superman in. And so he's like, there's only one thing that we really need to know about you. And that is, how dumb was she? And then he goes, let me borrow these, Herbert. And he takes his glasses and he goes, I'm a mild-mannered reporter. No, I'm Superman. Reporter? Superhero. Hello? Duh.
Well, it's kind of like when people see me without glasses, they're like, they don't recognize me right away.
Yeah.
Because everyone's accustomed to seeing you with glasses on. But also at the same time, I think I've had this conversation before when it comes to comic book superheroes and how comically they can be figured out, but no one seems to ever really delve into who they are on a normal day-to-day basis.
Right.
And there's certain superheroes where they've actually delved in the comic about it. Like Spider-Man is, like, one of the newer Spider-Man things is actually kind of like that, where he chooses to become Spider-Man full-time. Like, he doesn't have an alter ego anymore. He's Spider-Man the full-time.
Spider-Man.
Which is fine. But, like, eventually, the thing is like, the secret identities and stuff like that, that all basically ties into the fact that they also need to make money.
Right.
Like, they need to have jobs. They need to have a way to support themselves. They don't get, money for being a superhero. And that's what, that's what I found in Incredibles and Incredibles 2 so poignant. Because the government's actually paid for them to be superheroes full time.
Yeah. And to some user in Hone, what you guys are talking about is absolutely true. But that's one of the things. I'm reading a book called Humankind, and it's by a Dutch writer, and he talks a lot about how at our core we actually don't like to fight. It takes effort to make us fight each other. It takes a lot of effort, and it's not easy, and nobody likes it and stuff. So it's like really difficult. And he talks about things like during World War II when the Germans, or during World War I, the infamous Midnight Clear, when everybody just stopped on Christmas and got together, and just the Germans and the British, and they all just got into the foxholes and started drinking and singing and having a great time. And even on the northern front, where it was, the French and the Belgians and everybody was just singing and being perfectly normal. And then they had to go back to fighting once the generals figured out what was going on. They didn't want to fight anymore. They were over it. They didn't want to have to try to kill their buddies. They got new drinking buddies, and they didn't want to mess with them, But I mean, legitimately, that's something I've thought a lot about. It's like, we don't actually like to hurt each other. It's like, it's not a thing we do very well. And it takes effort. So that's a thing. Let's see what happens when you update. Let's see if you update the door correctly, or did I just put the stupid door on the wrong side? It's probably what I did. Did you decide not to save? Oh, you decided not to save. I borked it. Wait until I bork. Yep, see, exactly. Here's the door. And here's the butt. I did it backwards. I totally can tell that, if I can screw it up, I'm going to screw it up. 'Tis a law. If anything can go wrong, it will go wrong. Actually, this probably was going to work in my favor, though. Because now the labels will be the same size, which is useful. Right? This isn't the color layer. Oh. I do believe you were here back in the day when we were doing the wrong layer comic, right? You've seen our wrong layer overlay, because it's this one right here where it goes boink. We put that up because it happens so often. We do that so many times where it's like, you have to stop, but why? You're on the wrong layer. Oh, man. Yep. Then you're on the wrong layer and you're like, why? Why do I do this to myself? Why? All right. Now the door is correct. What? He's a weird, perverted laundryman employee? That's really weird. I actually kind of curious now. I mean, in a horrified way. I'm sure I can look up Klaus Kent in on YouTube, and I'm sure there's episodes out there, so I'll have to go see it. Now, you have piqued my curiosity, some user. You have piqued my curiosity. That's another word, piqued. Piqued. That's such a weird word. Piqued. Dr. Mug. Okay. I'm writing this down. I must see this. Right. Honey's like, maybe not.
Well, I got 5 pages thumbnailed during this show.
Good job.
And 1 page written based off of that thumbnail.
Excellent.
So, say that's a good stopping point for now. Afterwards, if I want to write, I'll just finish up the rest of the pages that have been thumbnailed. That's for sure. I have to get started on Captain Space Duck today too, so
I'm not going to have, you know, that no matter what, I'm going to keep going. Captain Space Duck.
That's pretty much the personality.
That's fair.
But instead of saying Captain Space Duck, it's because all the characters in this just quack. No,
That's
no
right.
one said
We
a
had
word.
an AI write it.
They just quack. No, the AI did not write it, but I'm taking the AI's prompt.
Well, no, but we actually did have it write the first couple.
Yeah,
Like, we had the AI write it, and it was bizarre and entertaining, but still bizarre.
Yes. So, but we have 9 minutes left in the show. That's why I was bringing up what I brought up. So.
Yep. No, it's all good. I have apparently built a container. That's what I've built in my time. But they stack, which is the important part. They need to stack, right? So that if I were to make some, I can say duplicate node, and they will stack like this too. At least they should. Really. Yep. Just like that.
So I'm having the transport ship from Station X called that the cadets use called the Side Splicer. Do you know of any other sci-fi series that calls their transport thing something similar to that, or am I good to use that?
Slicer?
Like they call it the Side Splicer.
It should be fine. I've never heard of anything like that.
Okay. Well, I tried to find something. I tried to figure out a name that would be like suitable for the 50s for futuristic technology, and like something that would be for like a ship.
Night, Hone.
Hey, Hone.
See you later.
That would be like kind of like what they would figure you would call a small ship. Oh, excuse me.
Right. Oh, I gotta stretch. Yerp. Yeah, it's fine. I am totally watching this some user. He intentionally washes women's clothes so that they'll shrink. I am always humored by shows in other countries because, like, there are things where it's like that would never fly in America, but it flies just fine somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's fine with it. Nobody even thinks twice about it. And which is, considering what the fact that, like, the entire first part of this comic is not safe for American consumption, it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I don't have a problem with that. Yeah, we're going to be done here in just a second.
How do you spell seismic?
SEISMIC. It is questionable as to whether we can actually put those "5 minutes left in show." I may not be able to put those in because they're 3 meters long, but I think they're 1 meter or 2 meters high. 1.5 meters is what I think they're. So that puts them at 3 meters high, which should, stacked 2 up, should put them 3 meters, which is deck height. So in theory, you should be able to plug all of them in pretty easily.
Who?
In theory. In theory. I like the fact that hexagons are sort of the classic space widget container, but in real life, hexagons turned out to be pretty much the ideal size for everything. That's why bees do it. That's why bees make all their hives in hexagons, is because hexes apparently are the strongest structural support across things. So it turns out that this really is the way to store stuff. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I wonder if it's still too cold for Alex. It's not too cold for Alex, so I'm gonna go for a walk with him. So because Alex does want to go to lunch at noon, I'm going to go on ahead and probably start wrapping up our show and heading back out so that I can get into my coat and everything like that, because it is still minus 9 degrees Celsius out there. That's not exactly warm. and the sun is muddy. Muddy sunshine. Eh, 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 eh. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
And
Andrew. Thanks,
Hone,
everybody.
I
Thanks,
know that
Brent.
we just lost Hone, but that's all right. Still appreciate Hone hanging out. This was like I said, we had the 3 points of the globe going for us here for this show. That was awesome. This is a global show. I love global shows. And so thank you, Hone, whenever you see this again. Thank you, Brent, for quacking as usual. And I didn't know. Yes, I will probably stream Saturday night if you want to join me. Because Saturday I just got Kerbal Space Program 2, so I intend to blow up things and or trap Kerbals in orbit, which is a normal thing for me. But I want to see what the new Kerbal's like, and I've got stuff all day today and all day tomorrow until tomorrow night, and then tomorrow night I can stream. So if you want to join me on a live stream of Kerbal Space Program, that's what I'm gonna do. So see you all then. Because it's wonderful, but it'll be so that's going to be 18 hours from now. No, yeah, no, tomorrow night, whatever. I don't care. I'll see you all later. Bye, Pepper. Bye, some user. Bye, Brent. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars, guys. Bye bye.